The Holiday Cup going to be available later today, and we're going to take a look at the Great League Edition, of course, today. 1500 CP, normal, grass, electric, ice, flying, and ghost type Pokemon going to be eligible. And let's take a look what the meta is looking like. We're going to have a lot of teams later as well. We're going to see here that the main meta Pokemon going to be something like Double, Togedemaru, Aurorus, and yeah, I don't really think that they're actually going to be the craziest. What you're going to see a ton of times going to be Vigoroth. Vigoroth was last time around the best Pokemon really for this cup. Definitely really good. Altaria going to be very good as well because it's going to be able to resist counter, which is going to be a main thing. And so I would expect that a lot of things going to be around like Obstagoon and Vigoroth. Back in the day, like last year, I think the most used team was something like Frostless, Vigoroth, and Obstagoon, which is still going to be good. And if you take a look at like the top meta Pokemon here, Aurorus, double weak to fighting type moves, double weak to fighting type moves, and Togedemaru is also weak to fighting type moves. Togedemaru is actually for the meta very interesting as this Pokemon has access to a Gyro Ball, which you wouldn't really expect that you would use it. But this makes it way better against something like Aurorus, which is double super effective against it. It's good against something like Abomasnow, like Frostless, all of those. Gyro Ball does some nice damage. If you take a look at the Frostless matchup, Gyro Ball is a horrible move, so it doesn't one-shot quite yet, but I think with some more fast move damage, I think you might even one-shot this thing in the beginning if you get like the fast move damage from Thundershock already, which makes Gyro Ball the way to go for Togedemaru. Very cool Pokemon, definitely going to take a look at this one as well. Otherwise, you're going to see some old Pokemon that you saw there as well, like Abomasnow is always there, Graveler is always there, which is going to be an interesting one. I think Charm Ninetales might be still very strong in this meta, should still work out pretty well. Charizard is now in the meta as well, which is interesting. You see down there like Stun Spells, which could have some potential play, but I don't think as good as it like might look like first. But Lickitung pretty low actually, which is interesting. What I think is still very good going to be Garvantula, because you're going to be able to resist counter damage, and there are a lot of Pokemon that are weak to your charge moves. Mandibuzz, just because of the main bulk that this Pokemon has, and also Mantine looks very decent here. And one of my favorite picks as well, going to be Celesteela. We're going to have a team with this one as well here. Celesteela has access to Smackdown, being able to destroy most of the ice types. I think against Frostless, you should be able to run the 2-shield scenario as well. Exactly, you can just smack them all the way down. And you have also access to the move Harry Slam or Iron Head, which is the exact same move basically, and this will be very good against all the ice type Pokemon in the meta, as well as it's going to be a good counter for something like an Altaria. So let's take a look at the teams. The first team here going to have Lurantis in the lead, having 2 Fire Flyers in the back. As you know already, Charizard is pretty damn nice now in the Great League as well. Since the Ring Attack buff, you definitely need Ring Attack here. Lurantis in the lead can be really decent here, as this Pokemon allows you to beat water types in this meta pretty nicely, as well as you're going to have coverage against most other Pokemon as well. Lurantis is one of the Pokemon that gets pretty fast to a fighting type move with Superpower, which will allow you to, for example, pressure shields for something like the Vigoroth, which is cool, but also like Leaf Blade itself going to be a very strong move in the meta. Then you have the Say Swap of Charizard. Charizard itself has of course access to Blast Burn and Dragon Claw, allowing you to have a lot of pressure for shields, which is really important for this team. In general, also Elite going to pressure shields because it's pretty attack weighted. And then you're going to have in the back there the Talonflame, which hopefully sweeps endgame, having access to a move that boosts your own attack and having access to a move that is a nuke might be a very good strategy. The next one going to be one of the cooler ones as well. We're going to have the Smackdown version here of Celesteela in the lead, or the Aurorus. Those are 2 very good. Aurorus has the issue that you're going to be a little bit more weak to other fighting type Pokemon, like counter users. There are not really a lot of fighting type Pokemon actually available in this cup. The best one I think that you can run going to be the Galarian version of Zapdos, but like nearly nobody has it, so it's kinda rare. But yeah, you use Smackdown on your lead there with Celesteela if you have it from the research that was recently available. And then you're going to use the Vigoroth as a Say Swap and the Lurantis in the back. You can also still use something like Obstagoon in the back instead of Lurantis, but Lurantis gives you more coverage against something like the Lantern, which would be pretty horrible for your lead here. So Lurantis is a little bit better in that regard, and also has more play against something like Obstagoon later on, like endgame, this thing can really sweep. So it's going to be a very cool team. But your lead mainly tries to get rid of some flying type Pokemon, trying to trap something like the Charizard with your lead as well, and so you don't have to face it with the Pokemon in the back there. The next team going to be more like an idea around the Lantern. Lantern usually runs a water gun in this meta because you're better against Pokemon like Auroras or other electric type Pokemon like the Togedemaru. We're going to have Abomasnow as a Sasop here, and also the Altaria in the back. Abomasnow as a Sasop usually just functions as something that can basically hit hard everything, even if they resist the move, because this thing is pretty attack weighted and pretty strong in that regard, but kind of also wants to get rid of Pokemon that are grass typing. The team itself struggles a little bit against other Abomasnows though, but I don't really think they're going to be too common because of the counter heavy meta, but could be different. I haven't played the meta yet because the meta isn't out at this point, so really depends on that. But in general, the core of Lantern and Altaria are going to be very strong, unless you're going to encounter, of course, Abomasnow, which is basically the only Pokemon that really destroys that core. Instead of Abomasnow here as well, you can use Vigoroth, which might be a little bit better as well against other Abomasnows, but it really depends on you. I don't really want to make every team with a Vigoroth, but it would be a good alternative there. The next team going to be basically the very likely most common team that you're going to face. Again, counter users have next to no good answer, and having something in the lead like the Frostless here gives you a lot of options as well. Frostless mainly being weak to the rock typing in this meta here, with like the Alolan Graveler, for example, or the Auroras. Having two counter users in the back helps a lot for that. Having the Vigoroth as a Sasop helps a lot for the Obstagoon in the back to get out other counter users, and you're going to encounter this team a lot, I can tell you. Frostless as well going to be one of the best answers for Altaria while getting a ton of energy, and you know Frostless with energy lead is kind of overpowered, so what you can do is either try to beat this team or try to run this team. Everything else is going to be a little bit tricky because you're going to encounter this team definitely a lot. This was the most common team last time, and I don't really see why this wouldn't be the most common team this time around as well. Next team going to also be a little bit interesting. We're going to have something that tries at least to help out the Diggersby in the back here. We're going to have the Togedemaru as a Sasop for this team, which tries to get out Pokemon that you don't really want to face with the Diggersby, like Vigoroth for example, while you're still going to be able to do a ton of damage with Wild Charge, of course. So there's basically no Pokemon that really wants to swap into you here, other than other ground types, which I don't really think going to be a lot there. If you face other ground types though, you're going to still have the Charizard to farm it down. A little bit tricky would be a lead or something like this of the Auroras. You still would win against Auroras for like the Diggersby at least, and I think at least the one on the Zero Shield scenario, I would guess, at least with Earthquake, but otherwise it's going to be a little tricky to deal with it. Of course, your Sasop of Togedemaru will be fine. What you could also try out, depending on what you face, is going to be the Sasop of Diggersby instead. Hyper Beam would be kind of interesting because you're going to encounter a lot of flying type Pokemon, but really depends on how brave you are. But I think like Togedemaru going to be a Pokemon that's going to be a lot of fun to play in this meta. The next team going to be around Mantine. Shoutouts to MEweedle, but Mantine is very cool in this current meta as well. Going to be able to destroy something like Charizard, being able to destroy the counter users, having access to Ice Beam for Altaria, going to be very, very useful for this upcoming meta there. We're going to have Vigoroth in the back there, which is going to help you out as well to have like a lot of neutral matchups. Again, Vigoroth basically doesn't really have an answer in this meta. And you're going to have the, a Pokemon that you don't really see that often, Ferrothorn in the back here. But Ferrothorn together with Mantine is a perfect core, like it's very perfect. Ferrothorn is weak to fighting and fire. Mantine resists those. Mantine is weak to electric and rock, and our Ferrothorn resists those. So like those two together are really, really nice, especially as Mantine is an answer for flying types as well, which Ferrothorn also kind of struggles with. So this should be very cool, especially having the Sasop of the Vigoroth there. If you remember my old teams, there was like one with Talonflame as well in the lead instead of Mantine, but Mantine seems just better right now. So this definitely should work out as well. For Ferrothorn, it really depends on what you want to run, either Thunder, Flash Cannon, or the Mirror Shot. All of them have some value, so depends on what you want to use. And we're already at the final team. If you watched till this point, I would appreciate a like on the video. Always is a lot of work to do those videos, but yeah, we're going to have the final team here, having a double weakness to fire types here already with your lead and the Sasop that you have with the Galvantula. is of course a little bit tricky, but actually most of the fire types are part flying, especially the Charizard, which you're going to face a lot of times. So both of your electric type boys are going to have a pretty good time as well. Here you're going to have a lead that's weak to especially fighting type moves. You have 2 Pokemon in the back that can resist this, which is the main reason why Gargantua is a thing. And also a Tara in the back going to be appreciating your lead here, because your lead going to be able to destroy those ice typings. You're most likely going to get out some ice typings with your say swap of your Galvantula, and then hopefully your Tara can sweep endgame. I definitely think this team is very decent, so yeah, let me know in the comment section which team are you going to run, and hope you subscribe to the channel if you like this video, and I see you in the next one. Bye!